One of the hottest topics in NASCAR has to be Kyle Busch. The Candyman has been going through it because of how he's been treated by JGR, and while he's been hurt by the outcome of the divorce with the team he's been with for 18 years, he's issued a stern warning to his competitors starting in 2023. It seems like we're going to see a different version from Kyle Busch, one that wouldn't be as sweet as the Candyman one. We're totally down for it, but in order for Busch to perform well, he needs to be one with the next-gen cars, something he's having a very hard time with. If there is one driver that is very unsatisfied with how the next-gen car has performed regarding the safety concerns of the NASCAR drivers, that has to be Kyle Busch. Along with a couple of his colleagues, Kyle has continuously sent warnings to the NASCAR officials about how unsafe the next-gen car is and how much of a hazard it presents to him and all of his colleagues in the sport. We have witnessed some horrible accidents that have happened with the next-gen car, such as the one with Kyle Busch where he wasn't able to continue through in the 2022 season. That's why Busch made more claims regarding NASCAR's attempts to make the next-gen car safer, something that drivers like Harvick and Bowman, along with Busch, would strongly disagree is going in the right direction. Busch had a recent interview with NBC Sport in which he was asked whether he was satisfied and felt safe going into the next season with the current version of the NASCAR cars. While adding that NASCAR could always do more, he also topped off his interview by saying that the governing body is too reactive. Yes, I feel like we always could do more. That's sort of our push on NASCAR. We're too reactive, and the reactive state of making changes is so slow. Like they have to go through a design process, they have to go through a crash test process, they have to go through a build process. They have enough parts built to distribute to the teams to have enough cars to allow us to run it. Obviously, Busch makes a valid point, and considering the accidents that have occurred with Harvick and Bowman, you'd think that the next-gen car has a lot of flaws and needs to be heavily reworked. But if the governing body starts making lots of changes all at once, it would simultaneously mean that they are subsequently agreeing that they have made a bad car, and now they are trying to fix their mistake. Still, Busch believes that the car as of now is a disaster, as he continued to talk. They've created a disaster with this car and all the process it takes. When they came down with the fact that you have to buy from single-source suppliers instead of teams being able to do the majority of work themselves and get everything caught up faster. That's a process. That's tough. It's hard, I get it. I don't think drivers are very patient people. We're never going to be satisfied that everything happens fast enough. NASCAR is a sport that continuously changes, and while we're yet to see the changes in the business model and the TV media rights, one couldn't help but note that there are constant changes on the safety of the drivers. That is why from 2023 onward, there's going to be a couple of improvements that have been dragged by a very important meeting that was held between NASCAR and its drivers 2 months ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The meeting itself was focused on discussing efforts by the governing body to improve their drivers' safety in light of Busch and Bowman's concussions and other injuries that have involved the next-gen car in NASCAR. After this meeting, NASCAR has agreed that a couple of safety elements need to be implemented in the next-gen car, such as a new rear bumper structure and rear clip, to address concerns that the car won't crumble in rear impact and won't transfer enough power to the driver. However, time will tell whether these changes that are already promised by NASCAR will see the light of day and whether they will be enough to drastically reduce driver injuries, such as the one suffered by Kyle Busch. To have a driver on the sidelines for so long after a crash that, although disastrous for him, didn't seem like it at all is unacceptable for NASCAR and the future of the sport. But that's why drivers like Kyle Busch are here, to raise concerns and be vocal about these types of things. This was one of the main reasons why fans were concerned that we were seeing the last of the Candyman because JGR and his sponsor couldn't agree on working terms. This has taken a huge toll on Busch's prospects and future with NASCAR, something that he has spoken about in recent interviews. As of now, Busch is constantly drawing attention to himself regarding the negative impact of the sport and how it affects a NASCAR Cup Series driver. And before we talk about his future with RCR and what he expects from the new environment, let's see what he has to say about how he handles things after the divorce with JGR. After 15 successful seasons with JGR, including 2 Cup Series championships in 2015 and 2019, Busch has been shown the exit door out of JGR, mostly because Mars Incorporated has decided not to sponsor Busch anymore in his tenure with JGR. In a recent interview with NBC Sports, he talked about his career, summarizing it in a couple of sentences, and whether he has anything left to prove to the NASCAR world. Quite frankly, with 2 Cup Series championships, 60 Cup wins, and 263 top 10 finishes, little is left to be proven by the Candyman. Still, he thinks that he is far from retirement, and when talking about his career as well as the 2015 Daytona International Speedway incident, Busch added, Both regarding proving something and continuing racing. I remember 2015 pretty vividly and being on the sidelines and not being able to race and be in a race car. I miss it. I give this world of NASCAR our life, if you will. Everything I've got. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of agony at times. But it's all rewarding and worth it when you're able to win and be successful and have fun doing it. I'd admit the last few years haven't been fun. It could have been a point where you shut everything down and walk away and it's over. It would be a crying shame to do that in one's prime, feeling like I still have at least 5 or 6 years left in me as long as I stay healthy and keep going on that front. Well, quite honestly, he will have a proper shot with Richard Childress Racing, who decided to invest in the veteran, hoping that he will show the true colors of himself, like he did back in 2015 and 2019. Now that he's been treated the way he's been treated by JGR, he does have something to prove. And while it wasn't that hard for him to pick up sponsors for his new team, it was still bittersweet to part ways with Mars Incorporated, the company that literally made him the Candyman. While his chances of winning the Cup Series again with a team with which he has already won it twice, JGR, were much better. That doesn't necessarily mean he will perform poorly in RCR. This is something that he himself believes, and when talking about the expectations of the 2023 season, Busch isn't holding back on words and isn't lacking confidence a single bit. What was even more encouraging for his fans and RCR fans as well is the fact that Busch believes he won't have a hard time accommodating to his new environment and the new car, and he will start winning from day one. What does the Candyman think about driving the Chevrolet Camaro starting 2023? I expect to come right out of the gate and get going and be fast right away. I hope that comes into fruition and starts at the Clash. Last year, Tyler Reddick qualified second and blew my doors off in the first 15 laps of the race and drove away and had a big lead. And then they ended up breaking and I inherited the lead. Then Logano ended up beating me and Austin Dillon finished third. One thing is for sure, Busch's experience will help RCR a lot when it comes to retaining competitiveness and even raising it to a whole new level. What we aren't really certain of is whether the anger that is currently present in his veins is going to be enough to force him to prove that he is a champion because he is the man himself, not because JGR had superior machinery compared to the other teams. That is why we are eager to see how the 2023 season will unfold for Busch, who is yet to win a championship outside of JGR. Given the fact that he and his former team broke things up in bittersweet manner and he was replaced by the owner's grandson, Ty Gibbs, the motivation and the eagerness will surely be there. The 2022 season showed the world that Busch still has it in himself. The question is whether RCR is going to be able to provide decent machinery to the Candyman and whether he'll be able to conquer the world in a new environment. But we want to know what you guys think. Does Kyle Busch still have a chance to win a title, potentially as early as 2023? And was his move to Richard Childress Racing a good one, or should he have stayed with Joe Gibbs? Let us know in the comments down below. A huge thank you to all our loyal subscribers here at NASCAR Culture. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. The next video will be huge and you surely don't want to miss it. Until next time, racers.